When an Oracle instance starts, one of the very first things that happens is that the instance reads its initialization parameter file in order to determine the operating characteristics of the database. So in other words, if your Oracle instance does not have a valid P file or SP file as they're called, the database is not going to open. Strictly speaking, an initialization parameter file has to have at least one parameter, DB name. And as you would expect, DB name refers to the unique name of the database. The service ID, or SID, is also considered a unique name for a database. And yes, there's arguments among Oracle professionals with the difference between a SID and a service name. We'll get into some of that in the next module where we cover Oracle Net Services. But for now, just consider DB name and SID to be equivalent to the database name. Now, one point of confusion that some newcomers to Oracle have is the fact that there are two parameter files. They both contain the same information. The text version is essentially there for backward compatibility with older versions of Oracle, and also the text version's cool because you can open it up in a text editor. But the main primary parameter file that an Oracle server will use is what's called the server parameter file, or SP file. This is a file that's in binary format, and it's located on Linux systems under Oracle Home DBS and on Windows systems Oracle Home Database. This is one of the minor differences between the Linux and Windows installations. The file has the extension or file type ORA, and it's called init and then whatever your database SID is. In this course, I have a database with the SID psite. Of course, that stands for Pluralsight. As you'll see in just a moment, the contents of a parameter file are pretty easy to understand. They're simple key value pairs. The case sensitivity is going to depend upon the OS. Generally speaking, Windows is not case sensitive and Linux is. When you're referencing strings in your parameters, you have to be careful to use the single quote and not the double quote.